You slide out of your mother, somewhere in the highlands of Central Asia, and land on rocky ground with your legs already trying to find grip beneath you. Your mother turns and sniffs you once, then takes a step back. You don't smell like the others, and she knows it. You need to stand, so you push your front legs down and try to straighten them, but they're too long for the weight above them and your woolly body drops back to the ground. You try again, pressing harder this time, and your front end comes up first with your back legs scrambling underneath you until everything finally holds. It's the first thing you've done that neither a lamb nor a kid would have managed quite the same way. A Ibui from the flock walks over and lowers her head toward you, then pulls back and walks away. Then another comes and does the same thing. Your mother has already moved back toward the group, so you follow on unsteady legs, closing the gap one step at a time. But the flock starts moving before you reach them, spreading across the slope in a loose line, and the ground between you and them is flat and open. You push forward, trying to keep up, but your legs are still working out how to carry you and the gap stays wide. Then the slope rises ahead, broken up by loose rock and narrow ledges, and the flock slows down as the lambs start picking their way carefully around the stones. But you don't slow down. Your legs find the edges without hesitating, stepping up and across in a way that feels completely natural. And by the time you reach the top of the first ridge, you're ahead of all of them. Your mother is still somewhere below you, but you're already higher than she's ever been. You're a few weeks old now, and the flock has started pushing you to the edges of everything. When the sheep find a good patch of grass and spread out across it, the ewes walk into your path so you have to step around them, and the lambs bunch together in a way that always leaves you on the outside. You need to eat, so you stop trying to feed where they feed. Instead, you move toward the rocky edges of the slope where the grass runs out and the ground starts to break up into ledges and gaps. The sheep never go this far out, so there's no one here to push you away. But the plants up here are different, stiff-stemmed shrubs with tough leaves that a sheep's mouth would struggle with. Your jaw is more like your father's though, narrow and strong, so you bite down and pull and the stems give way easily enough. That's how you find out you can feed where they can't. A few days pass and you start going higher each time, working your way up to ledges that sit well above the main slope. The flock stays below you, spreading across the wide open ground with their heads down, and you watch them from up on the rock with your front feet on a ledge and your back feet braced behind you. You're eating plants they've never touched, in a spot none of them could reach, and for the first time since you were born, no one is walking into your path. But one morning, you reach a ledge you haven't been to before and there's already something standing on it. It's bigger than you, with wide curved horns and its eyes fixed on you, and it doesn't move. You're a few months old now, and the ledges higher up the slope have become yours. You know which ones hold the best plants, which ones are wide enough to stand on properly, and which ones you can reach without the flock ever seeing you go. But today, one of your best ledges already has something on it when you get there, and that something is a wild goat. It's bigger than you, with wide horns curving back over its head and its legs set wide apart on the rock with its full weight holding its position. You need to eat, and this is the ledge with the most growth on it so you don't turn back. You take a step forward onto the ledge with your front hooves finding the edge, and the goat lowers its head toward you. You hold your position, trying to wait it out, but the goat takes one slow step forward, and then another, using its size to push you back toward the drop behind you. Your back hooves reach the edge of the ledge, and your body tilts with your weight pulling toward the slope below. Then your back end drops, and for a moment, both your rear legs are scrambling against the rock face with nothing solid under them. But your body is heavier and lower than a goat's, with your woolly bulk sitting close to the rock, so your front hooves stay locked on the ledge and you pull yourself back up before the goat can push again. You get all 4 feet back on the ledge, plant yourself wide, and this time you don't move. The goat pushes its head forward once more, trying to knock you off, but your weight holds. After a while, it pulls back, turns, and walks off along the ridge. You eat well that day, but the goats up here are older and bigger than you, and sooner or later, one of them won't walk away. You're 6 months old now, and the plants on the upper ledges have mostly been stripped back, so you've started going lower to find food. The flock is down on the wide flat ground below the slope, spread out and grazing across a big open stretch, and for once there's enough space that the ewes aren't walking into your path. You pick a spot at the edge of the group and put your head down. After a while, a fox comes along the bottom of the slope with its body low and its head forward, moving slowly toward the outside of the flock. The sheep nearest to it scatter inward, pressing together in a tight group and pushing toward the center, and the whole flock starts to bunch up and move together. You move with them at first, but the press of bodies forces you out to the side, so you end up on the outer edge again with the fox now much closer to you than to any of the sheep. The fox stops and looks at you, trying to read whether you'll run, but you don't run because you're not built the way the sheep are, and something in you doesn't respond the same way. Instead, you lower your head and hold your position with your front legs set wide and your weight forward. The fox takes one step closer, trying to test you, then stops again. You take a step toward it, that's enough. The fox turns and moves back along the slope and away from the flock. The sheep around you spread back out across the ground and go back to grazing without any of them coming near you. That's the first time you've made something back down. But something much bigger than a fox moves through these lower slopes when the season changes, and it won't stop to read you the same way. Skip forward a bit, and you're 2 years old now. You've grown into the slope in a way that nothing else up here has, knowing every ledge, every path, every section of rock that holds weight and every section that doesn't. Then one afternoon, the flock below starts moving fast across the flat ground, bunching up and scattering in different directions, and a wolf comes along the base of the slope with its head low and its body pushing forward. It picks off a young lamb at the edge of the flock, and then it looks up the slope and sees you standing alone on a wide ledge above the flat ground. You're separated from the flock and you're not moving, so the wolf starts up the slope toward you with its legs pushing hard against the rock. You need to get higher fast, so you turn and start climbing with your legs finding each step quickly, taking a line straight up the face that no sheep on the slope could follow. But the wolf is faster on the lower ground than you expected, and it closes the gap before the rock gets steep enough to slow it down. It lunges with its front legs hitting the ledge just below yours, and its jaw snapping forward, catching the back edge of your rear leg and pulling. Your body tips sideways with your front hooves scraping for grip, but you push hard off the rock face and pull your leg free before the wolf can lock its jaw down properly. You go straight up from there, taking the steepest line available with your hooves hitting each hold cleanly, and after a few more meters, the rock gets near vertical and the wolf stops climbing. It stands below you for a while with its head raised, then turns and goes back down the slope. You made it this time by knowing the rock better than it did, but you're going to need more than that soon. Your body is nearly full grown, and with that comes something the other animals up here will start to notice. You're 3 years old now and fully grown. Your body has filled out into something that doesn't quite match anything else on the slope, with the wide, heavy frame of a sheep and the long legs and curved horns of a goat. And the animals up here have started treating you differently because of it. The male goats give you more space on the ledges than they used to. Even the ram at the front of the sheep flock steps aside when you come down to the flat ground, but the season changes, and something shifts across the whole hillside. The male goats start crashing into each other on the upper ridges, with their bodies driving forward and their horns hitting hard. And the rams down on the flat ground do the same, circling and charging in short, fast bursts. You feel the pull of it too, so you move toward the goat groups first, working your way up to where the males are competing, because that side of you is stronger. But the male goats don't let you in. 2 of them come at you together, with their heads low and their bodies pushing forward in a line, forcing you back along the ridge until you run out of ground and have to drop back down. Then you move toward the sheep flock and try to work your way in from the side, but the ram sees you coming and charges hard before you get close, hitting you in the shoulder and knocking your front legs sideways so you stumble and have to step back. You end up standing in the open ground between both groups with neither of them behind you. That's when you see her. Another Geep picking her way down a ridge on the far side of the valley, with her body moving in that same uneven way that yours does. Not quite sheep, not quite goat. She's the first one you've ever seen. You start moving toward her, but something else on that ridge is already moving down behind her. Skip forward a bit, and you're 4 years old now. The thing that came down the ridge behind the female Geep was a large male goat, and for the past few weeks, he's been following her across the upper slope and driving you away every time you get close. He's heavier than you and hits hard, lowering his head and charging before you can set your footing, so each time you've had to step back and let him push you off. But today you've had enough, so you move toward her again from the lower side of the ridge with your legs pushing up the slope. The goat sees you coming and charges down toward you with his full weight driving forward and his horns dropping to hit your shoulder. The impact knocks you sideways and your front legs buckle, but you keep your footing and turn to face him before he can pull back for another run. He charges again, trying to drive you back down the slope the way he has every other time. But this time, instead of holding your ground, you step to the side and let him go past you, so his momentum carries him several steps further down the slope than he meant to go. Now you're above him. You know this ground better than he does, so you start moving up the ridge with your legs taking the steeper line, drawing him higher onto the rock face where his heavier front end starts working against him. He follows, trying to keep up, but the ledges get narrower and the footing gets less reliable the higher you go. Then one of his front hooves lands on a wet section of rock and goes out from under him, causing his whole front end to drop and his body to swing sideways before he slides back down several meters and hits a lower ledge hard with his flank. He gets back up, but he goes down the ridge and doesn't come back. You climb back to where the female is standing and stay close. For the first time, you have ground you can call your own, but the years up here take their toll slowly, and the ledges you've crossed 1,000 times are starting to feel different under your feet. You're 10 years old now, and the slope is the same as it's always been, but your legs are not. The joints that once snapped into each foothold without any thought now take a moment longer to respond. And on the steeper sections, you've started picking wider lines that you would have ignored completely a few years ago. You still cover the ground, you still reach the high ledges, but you have to think about it now in a way that you never did before. One morning you set out along a ridge you've crossed more times than any other line on the mountain. A long flat section with a short drop on one side and a longer one on the other, working your way from one end to the other with your hooves landing in the same spots they always have. You're about 2/3 of the way across when your front left hoof lands on a section of rock that looks the same as every other section but takes your weight differently, so your leg goes down further than it should and your shoulder drops with it, pulling your body sideways toward the longer drop. You try to correct it by pushing off your back legs and swinging your weight back to the right, but your back right leg is already on the edge of the ledge and the extra force tips it off. So now 2 legs are scrambling against the rock face with nothing solid under them, and your front left is still twisted in the low spot. You push hard with your front right, trying to drag your body back onto the ledge. But the angle is wrong, and the rock gives your hooves nothing to push against. Then you go over. The fall is short. You land on a lower shelf with your legs folded beneath you and your body still. The female is somewhere above on the ridge, but she doesn't come down. By the following morning, the ravens are already circling.